The opening scene of movie. The woman ran out of the private room with tears all over her face. The big guy at the door showed not a hint of sympathy. Instead, he let out a mocking laugh. Right after, a tattoo-covered man stepped out of the room. From the look on his face, it wasn't hard to guess. He was extremely satisfied with his 3-minute performance. But none of them realized, a grim reaper was already walking toward the room. He first dropped the guard at the door with a single bullet, the crisp gunshot. Instantly alerted the thugs inside. The tattooed man panicked and released a vicious guard dog, but moments later, the dog limped back, terrified. The tattooed man flipped over its collar and froze. A miniature bomb was strapped to it. After the explosion settled, the man stepped inside, expressionless. Seeing the tattooed man still breathing, he calmly raised his gun and finished him off. This man was Roger, the most lethal hitman in the city. Legend says no one has ever seen his real face, because anyone who did never lived to tell about it. Just as Roger left the bar, Inspector Jason and his team arrived on scene. Jason tried to get information from a dying thug, but the man refused to say a single word. As Jason was about to leave, a titanium alloy bullet on the ground caught his attention. Years ago, Jason and his partner were on an assignment at the docks. When they encountered a deadly opponent, Jason was shot and fell, and the shooter was none other than Roger. At the last second, Jason's partner rushed in to save him. Seeing the situation turn, Roger dove into the sea and vanished. But he didn't stop there. He tracked down Jason's partner's home and slaughtered his entire family. By the time Jason arrived, the house was already reduced to ashes. The only clue left behind was a titanium alloy bullet. Jason had been hunting the owner of that bullet ever since, and now, with a new lead, he wasn't going to let it slip away. Meanwhile, Roger drove to a private estate to report to Mr. Zhang. The boss, Zhang, assigned him a new mission: retrieve his family's heirloom. 30 years ago, Zhang's gang, the Red Star Society, clashed with Japan's Yakuza, and their ancestral treasure was stolen. Now, he'd learned the Yakuza planned to ship it back to Japan. To reclaim the family honor, he hired Roger at a high price and sent 2 top men to assist him. Soon came the day the Yakuza transported the treasure, but just as their convoy left the warehouse, security guards stopped them for inspection. Suddenly, gunshots erupted. Zhang had already bribed the security team. Roger quickly searched the luxury car and retrieved 2 golden horse statues. The heirloom itself, Zhang kept his word and paid him generously. Moments later, Jason and his team arrived at the scene. Seeing the victims lined up neatly, he deduced only security personnel could make them obey like that. He immediately confronted the security chief, using gentle but persuasive methods, until the man confessed everything. He admitted Triads paid him a fortune, and he had no choice but to cooperate. With this key testimony, the police prepared to make arrests, but as soon as they walked out the door, the witness was shot dead. The killer was Roger. He vanished before the police could surround him. Roger returned to Zhang's estate and reported the successful mission. Zhang praised him endlessly, but Roger remained cold. His ambition went far beyond money. That night, Roger changed into Yakuza clothing. They found Mr. Zhang's loyal enforcer and killed him with the Yakuza's signature katana, deliberately leaving clues at the scene. The next morning, Jason arrived with his men. Seeing the evidence, he mistakenly believed the 2 major gangs had officially gone to war. In his mind, all he needed to do was sit tight, wait for both sides to tear each other apart, and then collect the spoils. Meanwhile, another trusted lieutenant of Mr. Zhang also heard the news. He was convinced it was the Yakuza provoking them and insisted they strike back immediately. But Mr. Zhang wanted to keep the peace and avoid a battle to the death. Hearing this, the lieutenant exploded in anger. Before Zhang could finish speaking, he stormed out. Just as he reached the door, Roger, who had been waiting, handed him a matchbox. The address printed on it made the lieutenant instantly understand. It was the location of a Yakuza hangout. That night, the lieutenant led his men to the tea house at that address and slaughtered everyone inside. Now the 2 sides had completely torn off all pretenses. With his plan completed, Roger immediately called Mr. Zhang and reported what the lieutenant had done. But just as he finished speaking, the lieutenant burst in with a gun. He furiously accused Mr. Zhang of being a coward, shouting that he and the brothers were all ready to die for the Hongqing Hall, but their own boss refused to fight. Seeing the situation spiral out of control, Mr. Zhang reached under the table, grabbed his gun, and fired. With Roger's help, they kicked the lieutenant to the ground. Mr. Zhang didn't hesitate, he stood up and fired several shots into him, but just as he thought the danger was over, the truth came out. Yakuza boss Aoi had secretly bought Roger long ago, paying him to wipe out Mr. Zhang's entire family. Now that Zhang was dead, Roger went after his wife and daughter next. When he finished, he informed the Yakuza that the job was done. But they insisted on checking the house themselves. No need, he said. I killed them. I should be the one in charge. Then he opened the villa door, revealing that Mr. Zhang's wife and daughter were actually still alive. Elsewhere, Yakuza leader Yamamoto arrived in Los Angeles. As soon as he got off the plane, Jason showed up and handed him photos secretly taken of Roger's betrayal, then walked away without another word. Moments later, Roger arrived carrying 2 boxes. Inside one was a golden horse statue. Yamamoto, pleased, immediately offered him a hefty payment. But when Roger opened the box of cash, he found nothing but photos of his own betrayal. He instantly realized he'd been exposed. Guns were pointed at his head, and his arms were pinned down, but the next second, the tables turned. It was all part of Roger's plan. As Yamamoto inspected the golden horse, something felt off. He slammed it onto the floor, and it shattered. It was fake. Furious, Yamamoto rushed out of the room, but the moment he stepped onto the staircase, Roger, hiding in the shadows, pressed the detonator. When the smoke cleared, all of Yamamoto's men were dead. Only Yamamoto survived. Why? He demanded. We had no hatred between us. Why go this far? Roger finally revealed the truth. He wasn't the real Roger at all. He was Jason's former partner. Years ago, he killed the real Roger and took his identity, infiltrating both gangs to find the mastermind who killed his wife and daughter. The 2 men fought fiercely, but Yamamoto was no match for a top-tier assassin. Within a few strikes, he fell. With his dying breath, Yamamoto confessed a shocking truth. It was Jason who leaked his family's location back then. Enraged and torn, Roger hesitated for a moment, then ended Yamamoto's life. He had only one thing left to do: confront Jason. He called him and told him to meet at the old dock where everything began. For safety, Jason placed a sniper nearby to cover him. When the 2 finally met, they started fighting without a word. During the fight, Roger revealed his true identity and demanded to know why Jason betrayed him. Hearing this, Jason finally believed he was his old partner. Heartbroken, he confessed, yes, he cooperated with the Yakuza back then. Yamamoto had said he only wanted to teach you a lesson. He never imagined they would kill his whole family. Hearing the truth, Roger slowly stood up, raising his gun ready to avenge his loved ones, but at that moment, the distant sniper locked onto him and prepared to shoot. Just as the sniper pulled the trigger, Jason stepped in front of Roger and took the shot himself. A man should pay for his own mistakes, he said with his last breath. I'm giving your life back to you. With that, the past was finally resolved. In the end, Roger drove away from the city that held all his pain and memories. The man he used to be had died long ago. What remained was the feared, unstoppable assassin known as Roger. And that's War Movie 2007, a brutal game of deception where loyalty means nothing. Roger and Jason's deadly rivalry leaves no one untouched, and in the end, vengeance rewrites everything we thought we knew. So what do you think? Did Jason's final reveal make the whole movie hit harder, or did that twist catch you completely off guard? And be honest, whose side were you secretly on? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and tell me which movie you want me to break down next.